What is going on, New York Giant fans, subscribers, followers? Welcome back to the Big Blue in the Bronx YouTube channel. If you guys haven't already, please hit that like button, comment, and subscribe. Turn on post notifications so you know when a live stream pops for your job. Appreciate you all coming back. So, a couple of channel announcements. Twin Bill, obviously for NYY News TV, is now on Apple Podcasts, and the NYY News TV channel of podcasts is now on Apple Podcasts. So please subscribe, do all the good stuff, give a 5-star rating. Would really help us out. We're actually planning some stuff behind the scenes for the season, along with the podcasting. I'm really excited for that. Obviously, hopefully we get to meet you guys in person. Uh, meet just me personally meeting the other guys in person as well, because I've never met any of the other guys besides my brother in person, obviously. But with that being said, also 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Twin Bill premieres on YouTube on the NYY News TV channel. We're pumping out content. Even though baseball is barely a thing right now, they need a mediator for the negotiations. That's going to be a different video, probably a small discussion on the Boys in the Big Apple podcast, which is this Wednesday, 8:10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're planning a big show. At least I am. My brother is. We're going to have some guests on. Talking about the Super Bowl is going to be one of the biggest parts of the show. Talking about the Senior Bowl as well after the Senior Bowl game, and we'll do some takeaways, some key players, stuff like that. So it's going to be really fun. But with that being said, that is not what I want to talk about in this video. I want to talk about one thing only. That is Patrick Graham, former Giants defensive coordinator, is leaving the Giants, and he is joining the Las Vegas Raiders as their defensive coordinator under head coach Josh McDaniels. A lot of people sense this happening. A lot of people said, well, it's not a for sure deal that Patrick Graham does come back, since he missed out on the opportunity. Really wasn't in that final contention between Raheem Morris and Kevin O'Connell for the Minnesota Vikings job. But he has continuity with Josh McDaniels from the New England days. He did have the same with Brian Daboll, but I guess a new start in Las Vegas. Don't really want to be a holdover from a different staff and really have that sort of reputation. So maybe Giants players head to the Raiders. Maybe a couple other things happen as well. But Josh McDaniels obviously was the offensive coordinator for the longest time in New England. And with that being said, Patrick Graham moved from a couple of different positions on the defensive side of the ball in terms of coaching, defensive assistant. I think he was a linebacker coach at one point, or a defensive line coach. So there's a lot to be said and a lot just there over the overall. So I want to say shouts to Patrick Graham. He did the best he could with the defense the last 2 years, and probably one of the better defenses in the last few years of Giants football. James Bettcher, Steve Spagnuolo, and Perry Fewell, and then, just not great defenses. But Patrick Graham did the best he could. It always wasn't his problem, and I got on him at times for the aggressiveness or lack thereof, really. But with that being said, he didn't really have the talent. He didn't have the talent, and it was a shame. But listen, it's the best of both worlds. Best really for both worlds, because the Giants and Brian Daboll don't really have to stick with a holdover, even though there was a past relationship there. They could go out and get their new guy, which I will make a video on. I personally want Wink Martindale, my second being Vic Fangio. I don't think they'll hire anybody from inside the organization. Perhaps Jerome Henderson might interview, but with that being said, I don't think he has the experience enough to become defensive coordinator, so they might go with Don Martindale, who is at the top of the list for Brian Daboll. Vic Fangio, former Bears defensive coordinator, former 49ers defensive coordinator, former Stanford coach. And then there's some other guys out there, Sean Desai, the guy from the Patriots, Gerard Mayo. There's a couple other guys out there, so we'll see how the Giants really do this interviewing process. I would expect it to be quick. I don't know how many minority coaches they hired, or actually they interviewed for the offensive coordinator position, because I think the NFL Rooney Rule states you have to interview 2 for coordinator positions that are open. I think it's just 2 combined. So they already did Pep Hamilton. Maybe they bring in another guy. We'll see what happens. But let me just go over Patrick Graham's defenses overall with the New York Giants. I'll go over statistically who did well, who didn't, obviously all that other stuff. In 2020, statistically, the Giants were 12th in total yards per game, 17th against the pass, 10th against the run, 9th in points per game, 18th in turnover differential, 16th in turnovers, 21st in blitz rate, 10th in pressure rate, 23rd most missed tackles, 12th in sacks, and 22nd in interceptions. Some players that really did well under him. James Bradbury in his first year. He allowed 56 completions on 91 targets, 3 interceptions, 587 yards given up, a 61.5 completion percentage allowed, 4 touchdowns, and an 81.2 passer rating to go along with 18 pass deflections, 2 forced fumbles, and a Pro Bowl nomination. You go along to the second cornerback, which a lot of Giants fans really, as the Gen Z would call it, overhated on, including myself, because he was the second corner and it was a lack of talent there, and they really didn't know how to replace DeAndre Baker properly. They brought in Alex-GajovichProtich. They traded for him at the end of the preseason. Really wasn't a preseason. It was really more of just a training camp in 2020, but Alex-GajovichProtich didn't have an interception. He gave up 487 yards, 37 completions on 60 targets, a 61.7 completion percentage, and then 6 touchdowns, 120.6 passer rating. He did solid, not too good, not too bad. Blake Martinez, he probably had one of his better career years. Maybe he goes to the Raiders. We'll see. I mean, they have Denzel Perryman there, but him and Patrick Graham have a strong connection overall. They were together in Green Bay in 2018, obviously Giants in 2020. Blake Martinez had 151 tackles, 9 tackles for a loss, 3 sacks, 6 quarterback hits, 9 tackles for a loss, and 7 pressures. Leonard Williams also should have been a Pro Bowler in my opinion, but that's, the popularity vote. That's what obviously is the Pro Bowl. It's a popularity vote. It's a popularity contest, and it is what it is. But Leonard Williams had a career year under Patrick Graham. Total of 42 tackles, 11 and a half sacks, 57 tackles, 42 pressures, 30 quarterback hits, and 14 tackles for loss. And I just don't understand how he wasn't a Pro Bowler. With that being said, you move to 2021, and the defense regressed a little bit. I think they were put in bad positions a lot by the bad quarterback play towards the end of the season, especially Mike Glennon, Jake Fromm, the turnovers, the constant turnovers, and the bad field position. One of the games that they really didn't do great on because of opportunities and field position was that Rams game when Daniel Jones kept turning over the football. With that being said, they were just put really on a short field against a really good Rams offense that was probably one of the best passing offenses this past year. They're in the Super Bowl now. But with that being said, they were not given a fair shot. So overall, 2021, the Giants were 21st in total yards per game, 15th in pass defense, 25th in run defense, 23rd in points per game, 26th in turnover differential, 14th in turnovers, 16th in blitz rate, 30th in pressure rate, 28th most missed tackles. So that's not bad considering the defense they played, the defense's reputation. 24th in sacks and 13th in interceptions. Some players that really flourished under him that I'll talk about a little bit, just about philosophy overall, what he wanted to do, what he ended up doing, and stuff like that. Some players that really flourished under him this past year, and this is just my personal opinion, go along with stats. Azeez Ojulari had a great rookie season. 8 sacks, 27 pressures, 49 total tackles, 13 quarterback hits, 8 tackles for loss in a total of 17 games. Jaron Williams, who was a UDFA last year out of Albany, was mainly a special teamer, forced into the role of cornerback due to injuries. He gave up a total, let me just take a look at his stats real quick because I kind of messed something up, but that's obviously easily fixable. With that being said, he allowed 8 completions on 21 targets, 38.1 completion percentage, so that's really low, which is a good thing. 53 yards, 46.3 passer rating, and 2 games started. One of them happened to be the Eagles game, and I think the other one was the Chargers game, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe I am mistaken. Also, another possibility is that Dolphins game. With that being said, move on to Adoree Jackson, who I thought had a career year, and I think the Giants should actually keep him. 1 interception, allowed 38 completions on 73 targets, 52.1 completion percentage, 353 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a 69 passer rating. That deserves a nice to go along with 60 tackles. Aaron Robinson, very physical cornerback. I thought he did great in terms of expectations. Really wasn't expected to do much because he was really thrown into the mix. And with that being said, he was on PUP for the first couple of weeks of the season. And I wanted to see what Robinson looked like. I thought he did well. I thought he exceeded expectations. He started 2 games, allowed 19 completions on 30 targets, 63.3 completion percentage, 204 yards, 1 touchdown given up, and a 94.3 passer rating. I'm missing one guy, and that guy is Xavier McKinney, of course. He had 5 interceptions on the season. Some people argue possible Pro Bowler, 38 completions on 56 targets, 67.9 completion percentage. That's up compared to the cornerbacks, 443 yards. But obviously, with the passer rating being 72.2, 3 touchdowns, obviously that's not too great. But obviously, you have the 5 interceptions over that. So he really didn't allow a lot of big plays. And that is one thing that Patrick Graham's defense in the past 2 years really have succeeded at. They didn't allow the big explosive plays. They played very conservatively in terms of very zone. I know, and most Giants fans know, at the first part of the 2021 season, Graham wanted to blitz. He wanted to do what he did in Miami, even though in Miami he didn't have the personnel for it. He had very trash personnel compared with a bunch of young guys and draft picks and UDFAs. With that being said, with the New York Giants, came in 2021, drafted Azeez Ojulari, who arguably was their best pass rusher, and that's not a good thing because Azeez Ojulari, second-round pick, you're not going to expect too much out of him. You're not expecting really on a good roster to be that number one pass rusher. With that being said, they blitzed, they did what they did, they got beat over the middle of the field, and the defense was just horrible in week 1, and then he didn't really know what to do with himself. Going to be honest here, I was a little brash, still a little brash, about that week 2 performance against Washington when James Bradbury was playing 17 yards, and this is an exaggeration, obviously, 17 yards off Terry McLaurin, and Terry McLaurin had a career game against James Bradbury, who normally would probably lock him up. Maybe I'm just being a fan, maybe I'm being biased, maybe I'm not. With that being said, I would say around week 7, the defense got a hold of themselves and started improving down the stretch. Now, the Giants probably would not have started off so badly if the defense would have succeeded in some areas. But at the same time, against the Falcons, they played very well as a defense. Some big plays, some not big plays. Week 4 obviously wasn't great. Week 5 wasn't great. Week 6 wasn't great. But also the combination of the 4-13 season was not just the defense at the beginning, but the offense at the end, because they really could not keep themselves from turning over the football, and they couldn't score points at all during the season. So obviously, very little to no improvement on the offensive side of the football. Did not really help the defensive side of the football, and the lack of good personnel on this Giants football team the last 2 years didn't help Patrick Graham and his cause. So, what am I going to say about Patrick Graham? Just some final thoughts. I've been going for about 10 to 12 minutes here. Patrick Graham, obviously, as a defensive coordinator, I thought he overachieved, which is a good thing in his eyes, and just for him overall, he overachieved with the Giants defense. It was very under-talented. I really feel bad for him a little bit that he didn't get to do what he wanted. Now that he has a pass rush in Las Vegas, and maybe they do upgrade at some cornerback positions, try to keep Casey Hayward and a couple other guys over there. Maybe, maybe not, because Gus Bradley is now in Indianapolis, so maybe they get Casey Hayward and the Raiders get some Giants players, whatever the case may be. Hopefully he does succeed in Las Vegas and just has a good time with his friend Josh McDaniels. In terms of the Giants, which they do, I already mentioned my top 2 candidates. Really, I don't have much of a profile of the other guys. Maybe Gerard Mayo, maybe Sean Desai, the former defensive coordinator of the Chicago Bears. But my top 2 are pretty simple. Don Martindale and Vic Fangio, 2 experienced defensive coordinators who have been successful, very successful, have coached playoff teams, and have been known for their defensive style. Don Martindale, obviously, for getting to the passer, not in terms of sacks, but blitz percentage, pressure percentage, and just really making the best of the talent around him. Vic Fangio, obviously, with the 2018 Bears team. But I'm not going to make that into a whole discussion here. I'm going to make a separate video about it, hopefully before they hire their defensive coordinator, which maybe soon, maybe not be soon, but I think it's going to take at least 1 or 2 days for us to find out who the new guy is, maybe to conduct a couple of interviews if they still need to satisfy that Rooney Rule on the coordinator side. But with that being said, guys, like, comment, and subscribe, turn on post notifications so you know when live stream pops to your jobs. Appreciate you coming back. Super Bowl show Senior Bowl show, 8:10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Boys in Big Apple. It's going to be a big show, so I hope you guys come out, ask questions. We might have a Rams content creator on. We might have a Bengals content creator on. Also, Senior Bowl, if I didn't mention that already, Twin Bill, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Wednesdays, NYY News TV. Subscribe on Apple Podcasts. Give them a not a 4 rating, a 5.0 rating, 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts. Give it to everybody on NYY News TV. We work hard. Give the Big Blue in the Bronx podcast 5 stars on Apple Podcasts as well. We appreciate it, and it's obviously a process, and we're growing the channel, and we're getting a lot of new supporters from different fan bases across the NFL, MLB, stuff like that. So peace out, guys. See you later, and stay cool.